The day his childhood friend Bai Ningbing left the country, she grabbed his sleeve with teary eyes, begging her older brother.
She begged him to wait for her return and warned him not to dare look at anyone else.
He smiled and promised her he would, then turned right around and blocked all her socials. Absolute savage. He packed up overnight and fled to his rural hometown to farm, until one day his rundown yard was selected. It was chosen by a hit reality show, and none other than the top star herself, Bai Ningbing, walked right in. She pushed open his wooden gate, flashing a sweet smile for the cameras as she greeted the audience. She told everyone she grew up there, while he was literally squatting in the dirt pulling radishes. He looked up, only to lock eyes with her gaze as it went completely dark. Talk about instant karma. That very night, the trending searches absolutely exploded with tags about Bai Ningbing's childhood friend. Everyone was asking who this mysterious guy was and why on earth he ran away from her. Shaking, he opened his phone to find a viral post uploaded just 5 minutes ago. It was from Bai Ningbing herself, publicly demanding that Su-Yan better explain himself right now. She asked why his entire house was suddenly empty the exact day she landed back in the country. Honestly, he only found out she was back from a dusty television at the local village grocery store.
He was just chilling, chewing on a cheap popsicle while playing chess with Old Man Wang.
Old Wang squinted at the screen as the entertainment news host practically screamed through the speaker. Her loud voice could have shattered glass as she announced a massive piece of breaking news. The international award-winning superstar Bai Ningbing had officially returned to the country to develop her career at just 24. As a genius actress who dominated the global film festivals, her every single move was now under a microscope. Hearing that, his hand shook and he almost dropped his chess piece on his foot. Old Wang snickered as he took his knight piece, telling him to keep his head in the game. He joked that his chess skills were trash compared to his farming, but his eyes were glued to the screen. There she was, walking out of the airport VIP lane with huge sunglasses covering half of her face. Her sharp jawline looked incredibly cold as countless camera flashes lit up the terminal like crazy. She gave a brief nod toward the crowd and did not even smile. She was quickly ushered away by security guards, looking completely different from the ponytail-wearing girl in his childhood memories. You know, the cute crybaby who used to wipe her tears on his sleeve all the time? Old Wang glanced at the screen and muttered that while she was gorgeous, she looked extremely dangerous. He warned him she was bad news, so he quickly looked away to hide. Stuffing the melting popsicle in his mouth to freeze the pain, he mumbled that he had absolutely no idea who she was. He said he was just some random viewer, definitely not worthy or being associated with a huge superstar. The old man just clicked his tongue and let it drop, turning his attention back to the chess game. But his mind was already racing back to 3 years ago, during that exact same hot summer season. The airport was packed, and her eyes were completely red and puffy from crying so much. She had gripped his hoodie sleeve so tightly that her nails were practically digging into his skin. Sobbing, she threatened him while looking incredibly pitiful, promising she would be back in 2 years max. She told him she was going to finish her studies, so he better not look at anyone else. She demanded to know if he heard her, and honestly, what did he even say? He just told her to stop nagging and get on the plane, slowly prying her fingers off one by one. He pushed her toward security while she kept looking back at him with tears in her eyes. Her tears were pouring down her face as he stood there watching her walk away. The moment her back disappeared into the massive crowd, he immediately left the airport and grabbed his phone. He deleted her number and blocked her on every single app they used to talk on. Then he rushed back home, threw some simple clothes into a bag, and bought the earliest train ticket out of there. He ran away overnight. Talk about a clean escape. No toxic fight, no crazy misunderstandings here. Su-Yan just felt it was time to break things off because Bai Ningbing was low-key too perfect. He was like a rapidly rising star, so blindingly bright that Su-Yan felt he did not even deserve to stand next to him. Bai Ningbing was destined for the absolute top, but Su-Yan? Just your average guy whose biggest dream is living a quiet life tending to a few acres of farmland. He wanted to grow some vegetables and take long naps under the shade during summer, and roast sweet potatoes by the fire in winter. Their paths in life completely split the moment Bai Ningbing got accepted into a world-class film academy. From that exact second, they were living in two entirely different worlds. Bai Ningbing was sprinting forward. Su-yan? He chose to stay behind.
The gap was only going to widen. Low-key heartbreaking, but ripping off the bandage early is always better.
Before Bai Ningbing soared too high, Su-yan cut the cord, thinking it was best for both of them. And honestly, it worked. For 3 quiet years back in his hometown,
Su-yan spent his days farming, fixing up his old house, and taking occasional freelance design gigs online.
life was peaceful. Not even a thrown pebble could cause a splash in his daily routine. He assumed things would stay like this forever, until the village chief suddenly knocked on his door. Grinning from ear to ear, the chief had some massive news.
A huge deal. A massive variety show about countryside living was coming to town.
They had a star-studded cast and specifically requested to rent out Su-yan's yard for filming.
Talk about an unexpected plot twist. Why his house of all places?
The chief explained that the crew fell in love with his yard's specific aesthetic.
It was rustic and full of life. Patting Su-yan's shoulder, the chief told him to relax.
They were paying a ton of cash, plus the whole village gets some sweet publicity. They might even become a tourist hotspot. Su-yan desperately tried to turn it down.
But the chief did not give him a chance, happily walking away right after. He just left a business card behind, and by the very next day, the crew arrived.
We are talking directors, producers, and a whole army of staff members. They crowded into his little yard, looking around and nodding in absolute approval.
This place is amazing. Look at this fence, the rustic wood and the old water well.
The perfect vibe. The director, a middle-aged guy, had his eyes practically glowing.
He told Su-yan they would start setting up in about 3 days.
Filming starts in a week, so they would need him to clear out of the house temporarily. Don't worry, though, because they offered to book him the absolute best hotel in town.
But Su-yan immediately shut that down. He would just stay with his uncle next door.
He needed to keep an eye on his place, as his anxiety began growing like crazy.
3 days later, his peaceful yard was completely packed with cameras, heavy lighting, and reflectors.
Su-yan literally ended up squatting on his uncle's roof, watching the crew scramble around.
Absolutely surreal. The day before the cameras rolled, the director handed him the final guest list.
Just so he could get familiar with how things were going to run. Even though he wasn't appearing on camera, they wanted to make sure he didn't accidentally walk into a shot.
He took the paper and scanned the list of names, totally relaxed. But then, boom, his eyes locked onto the last name, Bai Ningbing.
Su-yan gripped the paper so tightly that his knuckles literally turned white. When he muttered the name out loud, his voice sounded completely hollow. The director excitedly chimed in, "Yup, he is their absolute biggest star of the season. The hype is going to be absolutely insane, and the director is totally losing his mind over it." So Mr. Su follows entertainment news too? She just smiles awkwardly.
She's been actively avoiding this drama for 3 whole years.
She thought they were separated by mountains and totally different lives. But then boom, his new variety show lands right in her yard. This is actually crazy. Should she just pack her bags and run again? She looks at her childhood home, now completely transformed by the crew. Honestly, she's just so tired. You can run, but you can't hide forever. This is her hometown. Where else could she even go? Well, what's bound to happen will happen. The next day, filming officially begins. Her uncle drags her out of bed at dawn, handing her a straw hat and a hoe.
He tells her to go work in the back fields and stay away from here.
It would be bad if the camera caught her, so she puts on the hat. She grabs her hoe and slowly walks over to the far side of the village. Her mind is a complete mess right now, and she can't even explain why. Is she nervous or scared? Honestly, not really. It's more of a numb, whatever happens, happens vibe as she mindlessly works the dirt. As the sun gets high, she starts worrying about the laundry left in the yard. She figures the crew won't be filming there now, so she walks back. But the moment she gets close, she hears a massive, noisy crowd. It's louder than a street market, with all the cameras pointed straight at her front gate. She instinctively tries to hide, but she's literally frozen in place. Just then, the gate swings open.
A figure steps through the gate, wearing a crisp white shirt
and light blue denim shorts, along with a slightly over-the-top straw hat. The sunlight hits him, making him look absolutely unreal. He looks right at the main camera with a flawless, a smile filled with nostalgia and surprise.
The curve of his lips and the spark in his eyes are so perfect they look almost calculated.
He greets everyone, his voice cutting clearly through the noisy crowd.
Clear and full of charm, he introduces himself as Bai Ningbing. He says this is where he lived as a kid, and it feels incredibly nostalgic. Her breath catches for a second. Then, as if he felt her stare, he looks away from the camera and his eyes lock. Right onto her hiding in the shadows. His smile instantly freezes. All that warmth in his beautiful eyes vanishes in a split second, fading away completely, leaving nothing but a freezing and razor-sharp glare. They are standing about 10 meters apart, with busy crew members and heavy cameras right between them. They just lock eyes and time literally feels like it's grinding to a halt. The tension is absolutely suffocating. She stands there completely frozen, holding a dirty hoe and wearing a ridiculous beaten-up straw hat. Honestly, she looks like a total peasant who accidentally walked onto a high-budget movie set.
He just stares at her, and she stares right back.
It's been 3 years, and not gonna lie, he's actually got even more stunning.
He has this untouchable, elegant vibe that looks completely out of place in this dusty old yard.
But the fire in her eyes hasn't changed a bit, and the director definitely senses it. Following her sharp gaze, the director freezes for a second, his face completely dropping.
He frantically barks something into his walkie-talkie while throwing desperate hand signals at Su-yan.
Run! He finally snaps out of it. He pulls his straw hat down, turning to slip away. But then, wait. A freezing, clear voice cuts through the air, carrying an incredibly sharp and insane level of gravity. Instantly, all the noisy chatter from the staff completely dies down. Su-yan freezes. Right under everyone's eyes, Bai Ningbing takes a step forward. She walks right toward him, stops, and turns her gaze back to the director. Just like that, her flawless, angelic celebrity smile is back on her face. But her eyes? Absolutely ice cold. She asks the director who that guy is. She points straight at Su-yan, and the director instantly starts explaining. Oh, that's just a local farm boy. He's not part of our crew. No need to pay attention to him, Miss Ningbing. Then he glares at Su-yan. Is that so? She murmurs, her tone trailing up as she looks back at him. Her eyes slowly sweep down to the hoe in his hand and his muddy shoes. A tiny, dangerous little smirk plays on the corner of her lips. He looks pretty familiar, she says, keeping her voice low. But it's totally loud enough for the nearby crew to catch. I thought he was an old friend of mine, she adds. The drama is real. At that exact second, Su-yan's heart hammers so hard, his ribs practically vibrate. He doesn't even dare to look back, literally tripping over his own feet, escaping. Her gaze on his back feels like hot needles. This tension is actually crazy. And running back to his uncle's house, he slams his room door shut. His chest is heaving. Familiar? Old friend? She is absolutely doing this on purpose, especially with her elite acting skills. If she wanted to play dumb, she has a million ways to brush it off. She could have ignored him completely, but no, she just had to drop that bomb. Right there, on camera with that exact tone. What is she planning? He collapses straight onto his bed. Staring at the stained ceiling, his mind is a chaotic mess of thoughts. For the rest of the day, he can't sit still. The shooting site is way too close. Faint sounds of laughter and happy banter keep drifting directly into his room. He can even hear her beautiful voice. She's completely dominant in front of the cameras, showing off the old yard where they played as kids, the old well, and the tree. Her voice is filled with the perfect dose of sweet, nostalgic emotion. It sends cold shivers down his spine, especially since they actually shared those sweet childhood years. But now, she's turning their past into a casual backdrop for a reality show script. Just a prop to boost her humble, down-to-earth persona. Honestly, this is so absurd. He pulls out his blacked-out phone. Living here for 3 years turned him into a hermit. Only using his phone to pay for things and check the weather. Super low profile. All his social media was deleted ages ago, but a massive wave of sudden anxiety drives him now. He ends up reinstalling Weibo and logging right back into his old account. And then boom, the moment he logs in, the notification counter on his dusty old account absolutely explodes. Over 9,999 DMs and comments. Absolutely insane.
Tons of red notification dots pack his screen, making his phone lag for a few seconds. With slightly shaking fingers, he opens up his inbox. The top messages are brand new, fresh from the ongoing live stream. Fans are screaming at everyone to go watch the stream and check out the hot guy.
Is he the childhood friend Bai Ningbing mentioned? Bro, are you even still alive?
What is your relationship with Bai Ningbing? Bro, you came from the hot search. You are viral.
Even with just his back and half his face showing, he has that rugged, handsome vibe.
Everyone is trying to expose Bai Ningbing's mysterious childhood friend, asking if it is him. Some claim it is just a scripted show stunt, but he keeps scrolling down anyway. The older direct messages in his inbox are completely random, dating back years.
A few fans followed him years ago just because he posted a landscape photo of his hometown.
He sees simple greetings from random followers mixed in with weird advertisements. But most messages flooded in during the last few hours as the rural livestream went live. They are rushing in like a massive tide, loaded with absolute shock. Curious about the gossip, our main character clicks open the top 10 trending topics.
At this point, 3 related hashtags are trending, and honestly, the drama is real. The hot topics ask why this mysterious guest on Rural Life ran away overnight.
His eyelid twitches violently as he clicks on the 3rd trending topic. The top post is from a gossip account, complete with screenshots of the stream. One screenshot is a full body shot of Bai Ningbing standing right in his yard. Another shows our guy carrying a hoe and wearing a simple straw hat. It captured his blurry profile as he panicked and turned, and her looking his way. A close-up captures her face turning cold, with a highly dramatic caption below it. The post calls it a massive scoop, revealing Bai Ningbing's childhood friend on the show. According to viewers online, the filming location of the show is actually her childhood home. It is the very same yard she grew up in, and the young man spotted there is the key. He clearly has a deep history with Bai Ningbing since her face dropped the second she saw him. She even called him a familiar old friend, which makes this whole situation way more bizarre. Now, self-proclaimed neighbors are claiming he packed up and vanished right after she went abroad.
He suddenly moved away, completely disappearing overnight.
Nobody has heard from him since, and yeah, this dramatic plot twist is actually crazy. The poster promises updates, but the comment section is already completely blowing up.
Fans are calling it a real-life romance novel about a top star and her runaway childhood friend.
Netizens are swooning over his blurry profile, saying his side profile is absolutely top tier. Even with the scruffy look, his wild vibe is unmatched. But the real question is, why did he run? He moved the moment Bai Ningbing went abroad. That is a seriously cold move. Some suspect he did something terrible to her, calling him a scumbag since she looked so cold. There is definitely a massive story here, though some think it is just a scripted marketing stunt. People are expecting a dramatic reunion next, but others insist this reaction was totally real. Her shock looked way too genuine to be fake, especially since her expression control is not that deep.
Everyone is dying to know who this guy is and if he is just a random local.
Then, someone leaks a Weibo account belonging to a user named Su Yan, inactive for 3 years. The location matches perfectly, and fans are tag spamming Su Yan to come out and say something. Annoyed, our main character throws his phone aside, his head throbbing with a massive headache. He is officially done for, because his quiet life is now thrust directly into the spotlight. Su Yan can already picture the absolute swarm of reporters coming next. Paparazzi and influencers trying every trick in the book to sniff out this remote village. His peaceful days are officially over, and bro is stressed, aggressively scratching his head. Those eyes trail down to the account ID, dead silent for 3 years, but now suddenly blown up. Should he even try to explain? But honestly, how is he supposed to do that?
Is he gonna say he ran away like a self-sabotaging coward because he felt totally unworthy?
Who would actually buy that excuse? Looking back, even Su Yan thinks he was just being dramatic and ridiculous. Or should he tell the truth, that he just got tired of waiting and all the uncertainty? But cutting ties so coldly back then would literally just seal his reputation as a total scumbag. At this point, whatever he says is wrong, leaving him just staring blankly at the ceiling. Suddenly, the phone he just tossed onto the bed starts aggressively buzzing on the mattress. It is not a social media ping, it is an actual text, giving him a sudden jolt of panic.
He slowly reaches out to grab the phone, a new message waiting from an unknown contact. The unknown text has just a few words, but they hit with direct final boss energy. That message feels freezing cold, stabbing right through his eyes the moment he reads it.
Soo-yan, you better explain yourself. Why is it that on the very first day I returned to the country,
Your entire family just happens to pack up and move away? Sent 5 minutes ago.
there is no contact name saved, but even after 3 long years, he still knows this number. He recognizes it at a glance. That tail number ending in 1017 is the guy's exact birthday. Bai Ningbing actually tracked him down. Soo-yan just stares at the message, completely frozen. His finger hovers right over the screen, but he cannot type out a single letter. How could he possibly explain? Tell him he was just a coward who felt too insecure? Tell him he ran away because he foolishly thought it was for his own good? No shot he buys that. Besides, knowing Bai Ningbing, he does not even want or need that kind of lame excuse. The guy did not send this text because he actually wanted a logical explanation or an answer. He is venting. He is aggressively demanding answers from him.
This text is basically a clear, terrifying warning. Soo-yan, you are totally done.
You cannot hide anymore. Soo-yan rubs his face in pure exhaustion. He lets the screen go dark and tosses the phone back as the reality show outside quietens down. The film crew's loud shouting has finally died down, probably moving off to shoot at another location. Fading sunset filters through the old glass window, casting a quiet and dull yellow glow across the bare concrete floor. Out in the yard, the gardenias his late mother planted are blooming incredibly thick and lush this year. The evening breeze carries their scent inside, but it is so thick it actually tastes a bit bitter. It is just like their relationship, decaying into nothing before they ever got a real chance to bloom. A perfect metaphor for their wasted youth. He sits in the quiet, completely losing track of time.
Then the phone vibrates on the mattress once again, another text from the exact same number.
This time it is even shorter, just 2 chilling words and a sharp period. Speak up. Even through a screen, Soo-yan can easily picture the exact face the guy is making. He is definitely biting his lip, those gorgeous eyebrows knit tight in frustration.
His eyes are full of pure rage, mixed with a tiny hint of hurt he probably doesn't even realize is there.
That silent vulnerability hits Soo-yan right in the chest like a physical blow. A wave of heavy numbness washes over him, but he finally picks up the phone and opens the chat.
His thumb hovers over the keys for what feels like hours, typing and deleting repeatedly.
In the end, he only sends a cold, lifeless reply. There is nothing to explain. It is all in the past. He hits send and instantly powers down the phone. He shoves his phone under his pillow. Anything to block out the pure dread of that caller ID. Soo-yan lies there, staring at the ceiling until darkness completely swallows the room.
Uncle calls him for dinner. No appetite.
He plays sick. The village goes dead silent. The camera crew finally packs up, and his old family yard goes pitch black. But honestly, once some secrets get dragged into the light, there is no going back. The next morning, aggressive pounding on the door jolts him awake. His uncle is completely losing it, screaming that something terrible just happened. He bolts out of bed and rips the door open to find his uncle sweating bullets. The old man gasps for breath, telling him that the superstar Bai Ningbing just collapsed. Soo-yan's brain instantly goes totally numb. No time to think, he just grabs a shirt.
He slips into his sandals and bolts out into the chilly morning air.
Even in the cold, he breaks a sweat as a crowd gathers outside his yard.
It is a total circus out there.
The director is pacing in circles while medics kneel in the center of the yard. He pushes through the crowd to find her under the tree. She is right on the lounge chair where he was relaxing yesterday afternoon. Her face is pale, eyes shut tight. Cold sweat covers her forehead, and her lips have lost all color. The floral cotton dress the crew dressed her in this morning? Now dirty, the hem is completely messy. She is tightly clutching a very familiar old tin box in her hand. Rusted all over, his old childhood treasure box.
It was hidden deep under his bed, so how on earth did she find it?
Why here? What is actually going on? Soo-yan's voice tightens, but the director spots him like a total lifeline.
He pleads for help, saying Miss Bai wanted to walk around alone this morning.
No cameras, just memories.
They did not think much of it, but she did not return after 30 minutes. The assistant found her passed out, holding that box.
He points to the tin box as the doctor looks up.
She suspects severe low blood sugar,
Combined with some major emotional shock, but she should be fine.
She just needs rest.
But she refuses to wake up, and her grip is way too tight.
They cannot pry the box out. He looks at her pale face and her white-knuckled grip on the tin. Something in his heart aches painfully looking at her. Stepping forward, he tells them to let him try. He kneels down. Silence falls. Every single eye is locked on him, filled with intense curiosity. The tension is real, but he completely ignores them. He reaches out and gently covers her hand. It is completely ice cold. Still trembling slightly, Su-Yan whispers the name Ningbing under her breath, calling out the name she had not spoken in 3 years, but he does not budge. His brows furrow even tighter as Su-Yan takes a deep breath. Gently, she uses her other hand to pry his fingers open, one by one. She is incredibly careful, acting like he is made of fragile porcelain.
Maybe he felt that familiar touch, or maybe he heard her voice.
Shockingly, his fingers actually loosen under her gentle touch, and the tin box drops right into her hands. The box feels heavy, and right at that exact moment, the thick eyelashes of Bai Ningbing flutter, and he slowly opens his eyes. His gaze is unfocused for a second before quickly snapping back. He looks straight at Su-Yan right in front of him. No coldness, no anger, just a completely blank, hollow stare.
It is pure vulnerability, without his usual mask, low-key heartbreaking to watch.
Then that familiar, thorny armor of his immediately locks back into place. He looks away, trying to sit up as the doctor warns him not to move. The doctor quickly holds him down, urging him to rest a bit longer. The doctor asks if he is dizzy, but he says he's fine. The voice of Bai Ningbing is low-key raspy, but he sounds completely calm. He looks past the crowd and stares directly at the tin box in her hand. After a brief pause, he quickly looks away, apologizing for causing everyone trouble.
He tells the staff it is likely just his usual low blood sugar acting up.
He sounds totally composed again, even though his face is still pretty pale. The director sighs in relief, glad that he is going to be okay. He tells him to rest, promising to adjust the filming schedule for today. The crowd slowly disperses, leaving only a few core crew members behind. Along with the doctor, Bai Ningbing leans back, eyes closed to recover. Sunlight filters through the leaves, casting dancing shadows across his face. Su-Yan stands there clutching the tin box, totally unsure of what to do. She is frozen in place when he suddenly calls out her name, Su-Yan. Without even opening his eyes, he tells her she is holding his things. She freezes, looking down at the rusted tin box in her hands.
This is literally her childhood box. How on earth is it his?
She tries to explain that she hid her childhood treasures in here.
I know, he interrupts, finally opening his eyes to look right at her.
His eyes are completely calm, yet they hold a heavy, unquestionable intensity. Marbles, collector cards, and some pebbles, right?
She is speechless. How does he know? He instantly reads her confusion.
The corner of his mouth twitches, looking half sarcastic and half nostalgic.
Because he was the one who put them there.
Su-Yan is totally stunned. The doctor tries to help him up, but he gently waves him off. He pushes himself up on the armrest, still looking a bit shaky.
He walks right up to her, reaching out to take back the tin box.
Prying open the rusted lid with some effort, there are no marbles inside. Only a thick stack of letters, carefully tied together with a purple ribbon. Every envelope is light blue, with Su-Yan written on them. This changes everything. But the sender's name is completely blank, and the topmost letter is postmarked 4 whole years ago. The most recent one is from 3 years ago, right around 3 months after he went abroad. Dozens of letters are just piled up there, quietly sitting inside this rusty old iron box. She instantly freezes right on the spot as a massive rush of blood surges to her head. Then she goes completely numb. This is actually low-key heartbreaking. He really wrote to her. So many letters, and yet she never received a single one of them. Talk about a major miscommunication. She had absolutely no idea they even existed. Bai Ningbing quietly pulls out the very top letter.
Gently running his fingers along the yellowed edges of the envelope, he slowly looks up at her.
In his gorgeous eyes, her sheer shock and absolute confusion are written clear as day.
He tells her he wrote twice a week during his first month abroad, then dropped to once. Eventually, it was just one letter a month. His voice is incredibly quiet right now. Completely flat and calm, almost as if he is telling someone else's tragic story. He wrote for an entire year, sending every single letter straight to this very address.
He pauses for a second, his eyes slowly sweeping over their surroundings.
This is the childhood yard they grew up in, but sadly, those letters all got lost. He never got a single reply back. A bitter, cold smile tugs at his lips. With a freezing laugh, he mentions how Su-Yan claimed the mailman was just unreliable. Or maybe the person on the other end just did not want to hear from him. She gasps. It feels like a massive lump is stuck in her throat, choking out any real words. To think that while she was busy cutting off all contact, believing she was doing the right thing. She thought she had completely vanished from his life, but he was actually trying to reach out. Using the most old-fashioned, clumsy way to send her messages over and over, while she remained absolutely clueless like a total fool. She even silently resented him in some dark corner of her heart, accusing him of being heartless and forgetting her. At this point, a massive, crushing wave of regret and absolute absurdity completely washes over her. In a dry, shaking voice, she finally speaks up. She had no idea these letters existed. By the time she returned, the house was already empty, and she thought this box was lost. She figured it was gone forever. Hearing this, Bai Ningbing let out a dry, cynical laugh. He stares her down, totally analyzing her face, so she did not run away because of some letter. Or because she was terrified of what he might say, making her pack up and vanish overnight. He heavily emphasizes those words, vanish overnight. She immediately fires back, denying the whole thing. Raising her voice, she stammers. She just felt like she had to do it. But she can't bring herself to say the actual reason, that she felt totally unworthy of him. She thought letting him go was best, but now it just feels like pure, frustrating, noble idiocy. It's just sad self-sacrifice at this point. He demands to know, she felt what exactly? Bai Ningbing presses further, taking a sudden step forward, completely invading her space. His faint cologne mixed with a sharp medicinal scent hits her all at once. Even though he looks incredibly pale and fragile, his dominant aura is still totally unmatched. The entire room goes dead silent. The director and crew are just exchanging worried glances. No one dares to step in. This is definitely not just some reality show drama anymore. This is a straight-up personal reckoning. She looks right into his eyes, inches away from her. There's a massive storm of emotions swirling inside them, anger, deep hurt, and confusion. He's trying so hard to hide his pain. All those feelings she thought were long gone, completely buried by years of separation and distance, turns out they never actually faded away. He just kept them safely locked inside his heart until this very second. This rusty iron box just blew everything wide open, and she can finally hear her own shaking voice. Her voice is incredibly raspy, every word sounding like it was dragged from the depths of her chest. We do not belong in the same world, Bai Ningbing. You are meant to shine under the brightest spotlights, while I just want to stay here and live a quiet life. Forcing this will only drag both of us down. She finally said it, the words she had spent 3 long, sleepless years rehearsing. Polishing those painful excuses just to convince herself, while Bai Ningbing listens in dead silence. Not a single emotion shows on his face until she finally finishes speaking. Only then does he slowly blink before calling out her name, Su-Yan. His voice is soft as a sigh. Who told you that I cannot enter your world?
She shudders as he demands, and who gave you the right to make decisions for me?
To decide what is actually good for me, he keeps asking. His tone is calm, but every word cuts like a knife. You thought it was a drag, so you just ran? Without even asking me first, without even giving me a proper, decent goodbye. Su-Yan, do you really look down on me that much? Or is it yourself you despise?
She is left completely speechless, feeling like a massive hole has been ripped open in her chest.
As the cold wind howls right through it, he lifts up a tin box and shakes it.
The rustling sound from inside is the world he had left behind just for her.
He wanted to tell her how cold and windy the outside world is, but every time he saw something fun,
Or ate something delicious, or faced a setback, she was still the first person he wanted to share it with. He stares at her, his eyes welling up with tears right before her eyes. Yet he stubbornly tilts his head up, refusing to let those tears spill over. But she shut him out. Actually, she literally tore down the door and ran. He forces a smile that looks worse than crying. Soo-yeon, you are a real jerk. Those last words tremble softly, landing like a crushing weight on the ground.
and striking heavy on her heart. The surrounding air falls into a dead silence.
Even the wind stops. At this point, the director frantically signals the cameraman to shut off all the equipment. This is no longer just cheap footage for a show. This is a raw, bleeding, real-life emotional train wreck. After speaking, Bai Ningbing seems to lose all his remaining strength. His body sways almost imperceptibly from the exhaustion, but his assistant is quick to steady him. Without looking back, he clutches that tin box and turns away, supported by his assistant. Step by step, slow and steady. Walking toward the crew's temporary dressing room, his back held perfectly straight, yet somehow radiating a lonely, fragile vulnerability. She stands frozen in place, looking like an abandoned clown in the center of the stage, her hands empty, and her heart completely hollow, with only that faint word, jerk, ringing endlessly in her ears. It turns out what she thought was for his own good, what she thought was a clean, easy break, was in his eyes just a cowardly escape, and an irresponsible betrayal. Yet the sun still shines brightly outside. Chickens in the yard stroll leisurely, and the sound of a neighbor's TV drifts from afar. Everything seems normal, except for her world, which has completely collapsed into a chaotic wreck over the last few minutes.
She realizes some wounds do not stop hurting just because you ignore them, that you're just buried deep.
Waiting for some unexpected moment to tear open, ripping your skin and flesh right off. Surrounded by his assistants and show staff, Bai Ningbing walks slowly back to his temporary resting trailer. The director wipes the cold sweat from his forehead, walking over to give her an incredibly complicated look. The old man just pats his shoulder and sighs. He leaves without saying another word, while the whispering crowd of gossiping villagers slowly starts to disperse now. Everyone keeps looking back at him, their eyes filled with intense curiosity and endless questions. Now, the entire courtyard is dead silent, leaving him completely by himself. There is nothing left but trampled grass on the ground and a faint scent in the air. It is the faint, lingering scent of Bai Ningbing, making him slowly crouch down to the ground. He sits on the exposed roots of the old tree, burying his face in his hands. Tightly rubbing his throbbing temples, his mind races back to the letters inside that metal box. To be honest, he does not even dare to imagine what she actually wrote in all those letters that never reached him.
Did she write to share her wild adventures in a foreign land, or to pour out the painful loneliness of struggling all on her own?
Or was it just endless questions and painful waiting that never received a single reply? At this point, he feels like a total clown for hiding away in his own little shell. His self-righteous sacrifice was never a favor. It was a literal knife straight to her heart.
Suddenly, his phone starts buzzing like crazy inside his pocket, breaking the heavy silence. He does not even need to check to know that social media is absolutely blowing up.
Even though the director tried to clear the set, there is absolutely no guarantee some sneaky staff member did not catch it. Or maybe a villager leaked the clip, because sure enough, the internet is already losing its mind. A few minutes later, his second uncle runs over clutching an ancient flip phone. The old man is in a total panic, shouting that things have gone completely south.
He says the village kids are talking, saying he is currently trending online with that massive superstar.
It is not the television show, but one of those viral short clips. People are saying some crazy stuff, so our main character quickly grabs the phone from him. The screen shows a shaky, low-quality video that is currently taking over the platform.
But even with the bad quality, anyone can easily recognize him and Bai Ningbing standing together.
It is uploaded with a totally clickbait title and some incredibly dramatic, sad background music.
The comment section here is a complete toxic dumpster fire, absolutely flooded with crazy rumors, insults, and straight-up hate. Some comments claim they are definitely ex-lovers, saying this random guy literally made their favorite star faint from pure anger.
Other people are yelling for this scumbag to crawl away and disappear forever. But a few are asking if maybe they are misunderstanding, since he looks pretty devastated too. The hardcore fans are losing it, blaming the crew and demanding everyone protect their girl at all costs. Some even admit his side profile is absolutely top tier, but say he is still trash if he cheated. Others are calling cap, saying modern reality shows will do literally anything for views. They will stage anything for clout, but honestly, scripted or not, this drama is next level.
Some fans are totally shipping this second chance romance trope, while he just hands the phone back.
He forces a weak smile, telling his uncle it is fine and to stop reading those.
It is all just fake rumors, leaving his uncle silent before the old man lets out another heavy sigh. He admits he does not understand young people, but mentions that before that poor girl fainted earlier today, she was actually wandering around his courtyard for a long time, just staring at the persimmon tree and the old water well.
The look in her eyes was incredibly painful to watch, and his uncle just shakes his head. With that, the old man walks away, leaving him to look up at the quiet yard. That massive persimmon tree used to be covered in beautiful, bright orange fruit that looked like little lanterns every autumn. Back when they were kids, Bai Ningbing would always complain that he was too clumsy at climbing.
She would jump up and down with impatience right next to that old water well.
In the hot summers, they would drop watermelons down the well to cool them before sitting together to eat. But that sweet, icy coldness was always more than enough to wash away all the summer heat.
Turns out she remembered everything.
Honestly, this is low-key heartbreaking. She actually treasured every little moment he tried so hard to bury and forget in the past. She wrote them into all those unanswered letters, making that old childhood ache flare up in his chest again. As that bittersweet pain spread through him, our boy Sue stood up and brushed the dirt off his pants. He knew he couldn't keep running away since he literally caused this whole mess. No shot was he gonna hide like a coward and leave Bai Ningbing to handle everything alone. Facing all the nasty rumors and judging stares from the public by herself. Even if she didn't need his help, he still made his way toward the production crew.
He approached the temporary rest area, which was completely blocked off by yellow caution tape.
The staff guarding the perimeter gave him some seriously weird looks when he showed up. But nobody stopped him. Up ahead, Bai Ningbing's trailer door was completely shut. Right outside stood her personal assistant, a very sharp-looking girl with neat short hair. She was whispering into her phone with a heavy frown, looking incredibly stressed out. Spotting him walking over, she immediately hung up the call. Her eyes filled with caution as she asked if Mr. Su needed something. Her tone was polite but cold. He raised an eyebrow and replied that he wanted to see Bai Ningbing. She said Ningbing needed to rest and was not taking any visitors right now. And besides, Mr. Su... She paused, lowering her voice to make a serious point. You saw what just happened. No matter what kind of history or personal beef you two have, Ningbing is a public figure and a guest on this show. Your sudden appearance here
is already causing her a massive amount of trouble, and it could honestly ruin her entire career and public reputation.
I hope you can understand and keep your distance for now. She was brutally honest and blunt, but honestly, you can't even blame her. He knew she was right, so he simply nodded. He explained that he just wanted to apologize in person and clear some things up. He would leave right after and promise not to disturb her rest anymore. He also wouldn't show up near the cameras again, but the assistant still looked incredibly hesitant. She clearly didn't buy his story and had zero intention of letting him anywhere near Bai Ningbing. But just at that moment, the trailer door suddenly clicked open from the inside. Bai Ningbing stood at the entrance, having already changed out of her floral dress. She was now wearing a very simple white cotton t-shirt and light gray sweatpants. Her face was completely bare of makeup, and she still looked a bit pale. But her eyes were completely clear and calm once more, even carrying a slight touch of weary indifference to them.
Xiaoyang, she said, her voice sounding a bit raspy.
She told the assistant to let them speak completely alone, which immediately made Xiaoyang panic, deeply worried about her health. It's fine, just a few minutes, Bai Ningbing replied in a calm but utterly undeniable tone. Xiaoyang glanced at her, then glared directly at Su. In the end, she reluctantly took a few steps back and turned around,
though she stayed close enough to rush back in at any second. Meanwhile, Bai Ningbing stepped down.
Gently closing the door behind her, she stood about 3 feet away from him.
Silence filled the air as she finally asked what he wanted to say.
She was looking at the old locust tree behind him rather than meeting his eyes.
Avoiding his gaze entirely, Su felt his throat go completely dry. All of his carefully prepared words just crumbled on his tongue, and he could only choke out a dry, simple sorry.
She let out a soft, mocking laugh, asking him what on earth he was even sorry for.
She left him without a word, and now all she has is a useless apology.
He finally turns his gaze toward her, looking like he's apologizing for being such a fool. Waiting for a reply that would never come. Bro, every single word feels like a whip to her chest. Su-yan takes a deep breath, forcing herself to lock eyes and mutter another sorry. She finally admits it. Bai Ningbing, she was just too self-righteous and cowardly. She's the one who completely ruined everything when she walked away. And no, it wasn't because of some hidden drama or outside threat.
She honestly believed they hit a fork in the road and that he belonged to a bigger world.
A world she didn't belong in, and honestly, a world she didn't even want. She thought ghosting him was the ultimate sacrifice, so he could fly without any baggage. Her voice drops, speaking incredibly slowly as she tries to find the words.
Trying to pull up all those heavy secrets she buried deep in her heart.
All those locked away thoughts now dug up and laid bare right in front of him. She never expected him to write those letters, not in a million years.
And she definitely didn't expect her parents to throw them into some random box.
A box she thought was long gone, hauled off to the countryside like trash. Only to get stuck in a wall crack. Talk about a bitter twist of fate.
It sounds like a cheap excuse, but the truth is just that ridiculous.
If she had just looked back once or checked those old dusty boxes in the house, she would have found them. But she never did. Instead, she ran away like an absolute coward, brainwashing herself that it was the right call.
Bai Ningbing just stands there listening, his face completely unreadable.
But check this out. His fingers twitch, showing he's low-key hurting inside.
She tells him her life was peaceful for those 3 years.
Her voice drops, mentioning the simple farming and home-cooked meals. Just mending clothes and taking on odd jobs to get by. She really thought she moved on, until she saw his face on TV.
And then he actually showed up at her gate, making her freeze.
With tears stinging her eyes, she realized she never actually let him go. She just buried those feelings deep down where no one could see.
Lying to herself that she forgot him, and God, she regrets it so much.
Not the fact that she left, but the cowardly way she did it.
She regrets not having the guts to say it face to face, leaving him all alone.
To carry all that pain and confusion by himself. And with that, she goes completely silent, exhausted, just waiting for his final judgment. The autumn sun filters through the leaves, shining right between them,
casting long shadows as the TV crew murmurs in the distance.
The faint sound of gear being tested fades, and the silence stretches on forever. Just when she thinks he'll never speak again, he finally opens his mouth.
His voice is like a quiet sigh. Su-yan, you are still so self-righteous.
Her heart drops as he says she thought she was doing it for him. So she made the choice for him, thinking she wasn't good enough. Ending their relationship single-handedly because she wanted a peaceful, quiet life. Using that to hide out here? Then he looks straight at her. Reflecting her panicked face, he drops the ultimate question. Did you ever ask what I wanted? What Su-yan wanted was actually so simple.
Bai Ningbing takes a tiny step forward, closing the distance.
She can literally see the unshed tears on his eyelashes. Fame and spotlights never mattered to her, no matter how far she went. She just wanted to turn around and find him. Just having him there was enough, but his voice is now a whisper. Yet every word hits her heart like a ton of bricks. He asks what right she had to write him off without even asking. Su-yan is speechless, her chest tightening like crazy. It hurts to breathe. He looks away toward the distant fields.
His voice drops. He mentions the letters, starting with the complaints.
Complaining about the terrible food abroad and the language barrier? Homesick rant slowly turned into sharing his first small wins. Sharing his first award and his frustration with toxic rumors. Then came the questions. Why was she completely silent? Wondering what he did wrong. He sniffs, fighting back tears. Trying to stay calm, he brings up his last letter. He wrote that if Soo-yeon truly wanted him gone, she should say it directly instead of leaving him looking like a joke. He turns around, looking at her with completely bloodshot eyes. Tears finally spill, rolling down his pale cheeks. But she denied him even that. She stares at his tears. Her heart feels stabbed. The pain makes her want to double over. She finally realizes how cruel her noble sacrifice really was. It was devastating. All she can offer is a useless apology. Bai Ningbing wipes his face, erasing any trace of weakness. He coldly tells Soo-yeon that her apology is received. His gaze turns cold and distant again, putting up walls. But deep down, something has permanently shattered. Low-key heartbreaking. Some things are just broken forever. He coldly notes that a simple apology cannot undo the past. Without another look, he turns and walks to the RV. Soo-yeon instinctively calls his name, but he pauses without turning. Her throat tightens as she asks to see those letters. Standing with his back to her, he says he threw them away. He calmly adds that he planned to burn them this morning. But his low blood sugar got in the way. He gets inside. The door shuts softly, completely shutting her out of his world. She stands there staring at the door, catching her own reflection. A totally broken face. Maybe throwing them out was better. Those letters carried a year of his hope and eventual silence. Maybe she was never meant to see them. Some mistakes. Once made, they are permanent. Some cracks can never be filled. Apologies can't always fix things, and some doors stay locked forever. The scorching sun beats down, burning Soo-yeon's bare skin. But inside, he feels like a piece was carved out. Completely hollow. He slowly turns, walking away from her fancy motorhome. Step by step, he heads back to his old house. Behind him is her glittering world. A world that has absolutely nothing to do with him anymore. Stagnant. 3 long years and dozens of lost letters stand between them. One stubborn mistake parted them.
Honestly, this is where the heartbreak really sets in. Faking an illness, Bai Ningbing stops filming.
She pauses her outdoor shoots.
She stays completely locked up inside her massive motorhome. Screen time goes to other guests.
His yard becomes a complete taboo for the show crew. Rumors burn hot. The gossip runs wild for a bit, before eventually fading. Drama moves fast online. New trends replace the old. Only a few persistent users still spam his profile. They leave. Life goes back to its boring, repetitive routine. But he knows everything is different now. Terrified of seeing her news, that number ending in 1017 never sends another message. The tin box and
With the unopened letters, feels like a total illusion.
gone. He weeds his fields, watching the crops grow. His second uncle can only watch him with quiet concern. Just sighs and hands him a cigarette. Soo-yeon doesn't smoke, but he lets it burn. Still, he occasionally spots her around. She wears jeans and a mask. Strolling the dirt road as the sunset stretches her shadow. Frail and lonely. Neither of them speaks or even makes eye contact.
Like total strangers.
Sometimes in the morning, he finds gifts outside.
Fancy snacks or new books on organic farming.
No name is left, but he knows exactly who sent them. She doesn't try talking.
Just silently leaves behind little traces.
He leaves them there, letting stray cats steal the snacks. The dew ruins the books, but new gifts always arrive.
At this point, they are basically playing a silent, childish game of tug-of-war.
Neither of them is willing to back down or give in first. No one wants to talk first, right up to the final day of shooting.
That afternoon, our boy Soo-yeon is in the backyard reinforcing a new grape trellis.
His uncle runs over, saying the production crew wants a massive village group photo. It is happening at the entrance plaza, and they want him there too. He tries to say no, but his uncle insists the village chief ordered it.
Every single house has to participate to support the community. So Su-Yan washes up and throws on a slightly cleaner shirt.
He heads over with his uncle, finding a huge crowd already waiting there.
The crew has cameras ready, mixing the celebrity guests with the local villagers.
The vibe is super lively, and of course Bai Ningbing is there. He is standing right in the center, wearing the official show t-shirt.
Rocking his usual polite yet distant smile, he chats with an older artist nearby. When our boy walks up, Bai Ningbing looks over. His eyes linger on Su-Yan for maybe 0.1 seconds before shifting away. It is like our main character is just some background extra to him.
Honestly, this is low-key heartbreaking, so Su-Yan just finds a quiet corner to stand.
He tries to stay invisible, and the photo shoot goes off without a hitch. The moment the director shouts cheese, the crowd cheers and starts to scatter.
The crew starts packing up while villagers crowd the celebs for autographs.
Things get a little chaotic, so Su-Yan decides to turn and leave.
Suddenly, a kid starts screaming, making him turn around immediately.
He spots a little 3 or 4-year-old boy. Somehow, the toddler broke away from his parents and ran to the edge, right where all the heavy filming gear is temporarily piled up. Someone accidentally bumps into some massive metal poles holding up the heavy lights.
One of the poles wobbles and starts crashing down right toward the kid.
People start screaming to watch out as the kid's mother lets out a horrific shriek. She tries to push through, but the crowd blocks her. It is happening way too fast.
Su-Yan is the closest one there, acting on pure survival instinct. He lunges forward just as the heavy metal pole is falling.
Right before it crushes the boy's head, he throws his own body in the way.
He catches the heavy weight with his shoulder with a sickening thud.
It slams right into his shoulder blade, making him gasp from the massive impact. Half his body goes totally numb as sharp, blinding pain explodes. But he grits his teeth, using every ounce of strength to shove the pole away.
The pole clangs down, brushing past the kid and crashing onto the dirt.
Dust flies everywhere, and the little kid is completely frozen in shock.
He literally forgets to cry, just sitting there staring blankly.
Calling out for her baby, the mother finally bursts through, hugging him and crying hysterically. Everyone swarms around them, shouting and talking all at once. They are thanking God and asking Su-Yan if he is okay. He pushes himself up slowly, but agonizing pain shoots through his left shoulder.
It is definitely a nasty injury, and his arm is burning like crazy.
Su-Yan stretches his arm, realizing his skin is probably just scraped. Fortunately, his bones are fine, so he quickly waves it off. He looks over at the sobbing little boy, tightly held by his mom.
Asking if the kid is okay, the mom tearfully thanks him.
She keeps repeating her thanks, tears streaming down her face. Suddenly, the crowd parts as Bai Ningbing rushes right over. His usual cold composure is completely gone, replaced by a rare, terrifying panic. Pushing past everyone in his way, he looks pale with anxiety. His eyes scan Su-Yan instantly, landing directly on his shoulder. Su-Yan is holding his bleeding shoulder when Bai Ningbing gasps, "You are hurt." His voice is tight. It is not a question. It is a blunt statement, so Su-Yan tries to downplay the minor scrape. "Do not move," Bai Ningbing snaps, stepping forward to grab his wrist. His tight grip actually shocks Su-Yan as he inspects the scraped skin. Staring deeply at the bleeding shoulder, he loudly calls for his assistant.
"Bring the medical kit," he demands, his tone more urgent than ever before. Xiaoyang hesitates, gesturing at the crowd of onlookers who are recording everything.
"Go now," Bai Ningbing commands, his voice dropping with absolute authority. Terrified, Xiaoyang immediately turns and bolts toward the trailer. The entire set falls dead silent, and every eye locks onto them. Everyone stares at them with deep curiosity and absolute shock. Cameras flash as the director rushes over looking terrified and deeply concerned. He orders a staff member to get the car to drive them to a clinic.
Su-Yan quickly insists he is totally fine. It is just a tiny scrape.
He says some basic ointment will do, but Bai Ningbing ignores him.
He ignores the director too, keeping his tight grip around Su-Yan's wrist. His gaze is locked onto the shoulder where the blood is spreading. With his lips pressed into a tight line, he waits until Xiaoyang gasps back.
Bai Ningbing snatches the medical box and rips it open with zero hesitation.
He tears through the box for disinfectant, his hand shaking as he opens it. His fingers tremble slightly as he commands Su-yan to sit down.
Pointing to a flat rock, Su-yan tries to protest but is cut off. He looks up sharply, and his eyes are already red with unshed tears. They are swirling with complex emotions, anger, fear, and honestly, low-key heartbreak.
Do you really need to break a bone before you will stop being stubborn?
Completely stunned by his intense gaze, Su-yan quietly sits down on the rock. Bai Ningbing kneels down, his movements suddenly becoming incredibly gentle. He uses tweezers to grab an antiseptic swab, dabbing at the wound with care. As the cold liquid hits the scrape, a sharp sting shoots up Su-yan's arm. Su-yan flinches from the sting, and Bai Ningbing freezes for a split second. He softens his touch even more, keeping his head down as he works. The sunlight hits his handsome profile, highlighting the sharp lines of his face. You can see tiny beads of sweat on his nose, and his pale lips are pressed thin. Suddenly, all the loud chatter and flashing cameras around them seem to fade away. All that remains is his slightly trembling fingers and the sting of the antiseptic. A tiny but sharp sting followed by a cool sensation. He is being incredibly gentle and careful. First comes the disinfectant, then the soothing ointment. He wraps it up in clean gauze, not a single word.
His brows furrow, whispering for her to show her shoulder.
Just a minor bump, she whispers hoarsely.
She tries to pull away, but he remains dead silent, completely ignoring her protest.
Looking up at her quietly with those gorgeous red-rimmed eyes,
Holding pure stubbornness and pleading.
she sighs and gives in. Slowly pulling down her collar, showing her left shoulder near the collarbone. It looks awful, a massive purple bruise swollen incredibly high. Honestly, it is terrifying, making Bai Ningbing catch his breath for a split second. He pours some healing oil into his palm, rubbing them together to warm it up.
Then he gently presses his warm hand against her bruised skin.
Caught completely off guard. A soft groan escapes her lips, making his hand pause instantly.
His touch softens, slowly massaging her. The sharp scent of medicine fills the air, mixing with his familiar fragrance.
His fingertips are cold, but his palm is so warm. Stroke by stroke, he rubs the bruise, though his clumsy movements show he is totally unpracticed. Yet the immense care and focus behind it are undeniable.
They are incredibly close now, so close she can see the tiny peach fuzz on his face.
Feel his soft breath brushing against her skin. A few strands of his hair fall forward, swaying with every movement. In this moment, time itself seems to stretch out, and you can practically feel the chemistry. Countless eyes are watching, whispering in the background as camera shutters click.
But none of that matters to them right now.
Completely shut out. He keeps his head down, long eyelashes trembling. A bead of sweat on his nose stays put as he continues to rub, massaging her for so long that her skin starts to feel incredibly hot. Finally, he stops, but stays frozen. Without looking up, he speaks in a barely audible whisper. "Su-yan, you are still so stupid." His voice is thick, carrying a heavy, choked sob he is desperately holding back. He could have just walked away, and yet, this is low-key heartbreaking to watch.
Her heart aches, desperately wanting to speak. But her throat is tight and not a single sound comes out.
He finally looks up, his eyes completely bloodshot. But his gaze is clear again, distant. Putting back up his usual defensive shield, he pulls his hand away. With unpracticed hands, he wraps the gauze around her shoulder. He packs the kit and stands right up. Stepping back to create distance, he quietly warns her not to let the wound touch water. She coldly tells him to apply the medicine twice a day. Her eyes linger on Su-yan's face before quickly darting to the director. She tells them to handle the rest because she is heading back to rest. Without another glance at Su-yan or anyone else, she turns and walks away. She quickly leaves the square with her assistant, her posture remaining perfectly straight. Her steps are steady, making it hard to believe she was just crouching there, treating his wounds with teary eyes and a choking voice, like a total hallucination. Only the lingering scent of medicated oil remains, but the warmth of her touch is real. Burning on his shoulder, it is a constant reminder that everything actually happened.
everything was real. Su-Yan just sits there dazed, and man, the angst is hitting hard. He watches her fading figure as his shoulder wound starts to throb with pain. But inside, he is feeling a massive wave of complicated, unexplainable emotions. The director walks over, pats his shoulder, and thanks Su-Yan for saving the day. He promises the crew will reward him and tells him to go rest up. Su-Yan snaps out of it, forcing a weak smile to say it is nothing. It was the right thing to do. Soon, the local villagers gather around him. They shower him with praise and worry, but his mind is already miles away. He keeps replaying Bai Ningbing's teary eyes and her parting words in slow motion. They just loop in his head. Su-Yan, you are still so stupid. Was she mad at his recklessness, or was she low-key heartbroken? I did not see this twist coming. Once that thought takes root, it grows like crazy, but reality quickly kicks in. He remembers her cold, decisive departure and that freezing attitude of hers. That tiny spark of hope he just felt, totally crushed by the harsh reality. She was probably just being human, showing some basic care for an old acquaintance. Or maybe she just felt a tiny bit of pity for their past, that's it. Su-Yan slowly stands up, the throbbing in his left shoulder pulling him back. The crowd finally starts to disperse, leaving the area quiet once again. The square is empty now, with the sun setting slowly in the west. The sky is painted a brilliant orange red as he dusts himself off. He slowly heads home. By the next morning, the film crew starts packing. They leave in a massive caravan, and the village finally gets some quiet back. Honestly, those chaotic few days feel like nothing but a crazy passing dream. The only things left are some minor filming marks scattered in his yard. That and the local gossip are the only proof this actually happened. At this point, his life seems back to normal, tending to his garden. He finishes up the grape trellis while his shoulder bruise slowly starts to fade. The scrapes scab over, itchy but healing. Honestly, Bai Ningbing's medicine is overpowered. But he stops using it, keeping that foreign labeled bottle tucked away safely. He hides it deep inside his cabinet, right alongside his other old memories. His uncle even tries to pry, asking about the day Miss Bai bandaged him. Su-Yan just mutters a response and keeps eating, refusing to talk about it. Seeing that, his uncle drops it. Meanwhile, the online drama finally blows over. Some clickbait accounts still try to hype up his hero saves the beauty moment. But with no updates, the hype dies down, and his social media goes quiet. The notifications and mentions slow down until everything is completely back to normal. Honestly, this is probably for the best. That distance is exactly what they need. The guy is a high and mighty star, while our boy is just a regular peasant. Their random meeting was just a tiny, temporary ripple in an otherwise quiet life. And then they went right back to their separate worlds, until one evening a week later. Our main character is sitting right under the old locust tree, catching the very last rays of daylight. He is quietly repairing an old hoe while his uncle is away in town. The entire village is incredibly peaceful, with only the local birds chirping in the background. Suddenly, he hears the fence gate creak open and assumes his uncle has finally returned. Without even looking up, he tells him to heat up the food, but silence makes him look. And oh my god, it is actually Bai Ningbing standing there without any hat or mask! No assistants, no bodyguards, just the superstar himself looking incredibly casual in a plain white shirt. He is wearing simple light jeans, with his canvas shoes looking a bit dusty from the road. The golden sunset literally wraps around his entire body like an ethereal, glowing halo. With the evening breeze playing with his hair, he honestly looks way thinner than on the show. But his eyes are still so bright as he quietly stares right at our boy. And look at that, he is still holding that familiar, rusty iron box from before. Our boy grips his hoe so hard his knuckles turn white, his heart absolutely pounding right now. Time completely freezes in this moment, with distant smoke lazily curling up from village chimneys, while the farm animals head to their coops and the rest of the world keeps spinning. In this tiny, quiet courtyard, it feels like someone literally hit the pause button on existence. Like, why is he even here? Did their reality show not wrap up a long time ago? Shouldn't he be back in his flashy celebrity world, shooting movies and attending glamorous events? Living that shiny spotlight lifestyle? A million questions are absolutely screaming in our boy's head.
But he cannot utter a single word, just standing there, frozen, completely staring at him. He watches the star walk across the yard as the sunset stretches their shadows incredibly long. Their shadows overlap on the dirt ground as the superstar finally stops right in front of him. His gaze drifts down to the hoe in our boy's hands, then back up to his face.
There is no intense drama like at the festival, and none of that icy glare from earlier.
It is just an unreadable, deep calm as the star softly asks if his injury has healed. He asks so gently if his injury is healed, and our boy quietly says yes. Hearing his own dry voice say it is mostly fine, the star just silently nods. Offering up the rusty iron box, the superstar waits, but our boy hesitates to take it. The superstar's commanding look leaves absolutely no room for refusal, forcing our boy to yield. He finally sets his hoe aside and wipes his sweaty palms quickly on his pants. Taking the box, he realizes it feels incredibly light, almost like it is completely empty. Our boy asks about the old letters. Weren't they supposed to be burned to ashes? The superstar answers bluntly that they were, keeping his eyes glued right on our boy's face. He seems to be closely studying his reaction, mentioning he threw all the ashes into the river. Honestly, our boy has absolutely no clue how to react or if he should feel relieved. Or if he is supposed to feel incredibly disappointed. But then, the superstar suddenly switches gears. He reaches back into a simple canvas bag and pulls out a totally ordinary-looking item. It is a plain light blue hardcover notebook, its corners looking slightly worn from constant use. Clearly, he read through it constantly, and he quietly mentions that he kept a copy. He hands the notebook over, speaking so calmly you would think he was just discussing the weather. Those burned pages represented his past obsession, but this copy belongs with our boy. Su-Yan stares at the notebook, refusing to take it. Her heart hammers, chest ringing as she licks her dry lips. She quietly tells Bai Ningbing there is no need for this. That those letters never arrived. But he cuts her off, stepping closer. Standing so close, she catches the faint scent of him. Clean soap mixed with something subtle. A hint of expensive city perfume. Then, he looks up. He stares straight into her eyes under the fading sunset. Two stubborn little flames lighting up as he speaks to her. He says he came to tell her and himself 3 years. 3 years spent trying to process her sudden silent disappearance. He thought he let go, and honestly, this emotional payoff is insane. Winning awards, climbing higher, making something of himself. He got the fame and the love, telling himself he succeeded. That he was living a much better life without her. He speaks slowly now, but every single word carries massive weight. But the second he opened that gate and saw her there, just pulling radishes like nothing ever happened. With a bitter, self-mocking smile, he realized he was dead wrong. Completely wrong. All that anger and confusion had never actually gone away. He had just locked those feelings deep down inside. Yet seeing her in this yard brought it all crashing back. Taking a deep breath to gather his courage, he calls her. He admits he hated her, hated how self-righteous she was. Hated how she disappeared, leaving him doubting himself like a fool. Torturing himself day after day, he even thought about revenge. If they met again, he swore he would scream at her. Or just act like strangers, letting her feel that cold isolation. But then, his voice drops. With a slight tremble, he mentions seeing that pole falling. A totally blank mind, caring only about her safety. His eyes are turning red, but his gaze is incredibly sharp. He stares straight at her, refusing to let her look away. He realized hate only means he still cares. The author absolutely cooked here. He was angry, but far more terrified of actually losing her. It takes everything he has. For 3 years, he tried filling every single second with work. He tried meeting new people, tried forcing himself to move on. Telling himself she was just some irrelevant stranger from his past. But he could not do it. Shaking his head, his tears finally fall. They stream down his pale face as he whispers her name. He just cannot do it. Seeing her hurt completely breaks him. He admits seeing her avoid him in this yard hurts so bad. Seeing that old persimmon tree in the well hurts. Everything here forces him to remember the past. He remembers her dream of planting a massive watermelon patch and chilling sweet soup by the well together.
Recalling how she picked persimmons, fell down and smiled like an idiot with scraped knees.
At this point, tears are pouring down and his voice completely cracks. Yet he stubbornly forces it out. Time never let him forget Su-Yan. Every memory of her turned into bitter wine. One tiny hint of her completely breaks him.
She stands there completely frozen. Honestly, who wouldn't after that speech?
But then he aggressively wipes his tears and raises his chin high. With desperate eyes, he absolutely refuses to run anymore. And he is not letting Su-Yan run away either, then mentions those letters. They were just messages from his past self to hers, and whether she reads them now doesn't matter. He already burned those letters to ashes for closure.
Gently, he places a light blue notebook on the stone mill beside her.
But this light blue notebook contains everything his present self wants to say to her right now. Stepping back, his intense gaze stays locked onto Su-Yan as he speaks.
He is definitely not here to settle old scores.
None of it matters. He only wants to tell her one thing. He still loves her way more than 3 years ago, more than he has ever loved anyone. Loving her has nothing to do with his celebrity status. Her location doesn't matter. It only concerns him, Bai Ningbing. The evening breeze blows, carrying his incredibly familiar scent.
It makes her heart flutter. He tells her she can keep hiding.
She can feel completely unworthy and find 10,000 reasons to push him away. That is her choice, but loving her is his business. He cannot control her. She cannot stop him. His voice is quiet, but incredibly clear. It carries absolute, unshakable determination as the evening darkness starts settling in. Starting today, he is chasing her. He will do it gently, without bothering her, but making sure she sees. Until she finally falls in love with him again, or he completely gives up on her. After letting that out, he looks like a massive weight was lifted. He sighs softly, tears still wet on his cheeks. Yet he flashes a totally relieved, almost childish smile. He tells her he is done, giving her one final intense look. It is a complex mix of relief and stubbornness. There is even a hint of hidden nervousness before he turns around. He walks off with light, confident steps toward the wooden fence gate. Not once does he look back. She stands completely frozen, like a weathered stone statue. In her hands is that light metal box, while resting right next to her sits that heavy light blue notebook as the setting sun finally dips completely below the horizon. The final sliver of light fades away, leaving the courtyard completely dark. Only a few scattered lights glow in the distance as the cool night wind hits her face. But it can't cool down her burning chest. Every single word Bai Ningbing said is echoing in her head. He promised to chase her until she falls in love again. Or until he completely gives up. Honestly, that is so direct. Classic Bai Ningbing. No beating around the bush. No games. He laid all his vulnerability and raw courage completely bare right in front of her. It felt like a red-hot iron, catching her off guard and searing her heart. The pain is sharp. Her blood runs so hot she can barely stand. She slowly looks down, at the old metal box in her hands, then at the quiet notebook resting on the stone mill. What is this? A confession 3 years too late? Or some chaotic new beginning? She has no idea. All she knows is her 3 years of painstakingly built peace just completely shattered. His words completely broke her walls. Honestly, the emotional tension here is actually crazy. Turns out, she never let him go. She just buried the hope, insecurity, and cowardice deep in her heart, pretending it was all a meaningless dream. Now the grave is open, letting the light flood in, and she has nowhere left to hide. Carrying the scent of distant fields, she stands frozen in place for the longest time. It is only when her uncle's footsteps echo outside that she suddenly snaps out of it. She grabs the notebook and the metal box. Rushing back to her room, she slams the door shut behind her. Leaning against the cold door, her heart beats completely out of her chest. The sharp notebook edges dig into her palm. Just like his parting look and those heavy, unforgettable words, leaving a scorching hot mark on her soul. No ignoring it now. Yep, she is tossing and turning all night.
Bai Ningbing's voice is literally playing on a loop like a broken record. Every word, every tremble in his voice. His red-rimmed eyes and that intense, unwavering gaze are burned into her mind.
He still likes her, and he will chase her until she falls for him again.
Or until he gives up. So direct.
Leaving absolutely no room for escape. That is just like him.
Even as a kid, when he wanted something, he would do anything to get it.
The only difference is that back then he would throw tantrums, but now he is laying down a straight-up declaration. She buries her face in her pillow, trying to block out his voice.
But it is no use. Finally, she just sits up and flips on the light.
Under the warm glow, the notebook sits, waiting. It rests on the desk, with the metal box next to it like a silent witness. Staring at the cover for a long time, she slowly reaches out. She pulls back like she got burned. Should she open it? This is pure torture.
Reading it means facing his hidden 3 years. It means she will have to actively choose to look back at what she missed.
To rip open the scar she thought had healed and see just how bad the wound underneath really is. Su-Yan tries to ignore him, burying her head in the sand like an ostrich.
She pretends nothing happened, but honestly, Bai Ningbing is already right there with a shovel.
He completely digs up her little hiding spot, leaving her to ruffle her hair in frustration. Ultimately, she reaches out and picks up the notebook. It feels light, yet heavier than gold. The flyleaf is blank, but turning the page reveals his elegant, powerful handwriting. It isn't a formal letter, just thoughts jotted down directly. No greetings, no signature. This felt like a private diary, or a letter meant for her that he never intended to send. The first line reads, Su-Yan, it rained today. London rain is so annoying.
It is sticky and gloomy, unlike back home where it either pours all at once.
Or doesn't rain at all. It reminded him of how she never liked using umbrellas. She always said drizzling rain felt nice, only to get scolded by his mom every time. The entry was dated 3 years ago, right after he had just moved abroad. Her fingers pause, but she keeps reading. Got praised in class today. Wanted to tell you. But when I opened our chat, I remembered, oh right, you blocked me.
He wrote, Su-Yan, you are such a jerk. I got a tiny acting role.
It only has a few lines, but the director said I actually have talent. If you were here, you would definitely smirk and say, of course, you're my desk mate.
Too bad you aren't here. You bastard, I got ostracized by the other actresses today.
They made fun of my accent, but it is fine. I will prove them wrong.
I am just a bit tired.
If you were here right now, you would probably crack some terrible joke or just drag me out to eat something delicious.
Su-Yan, I really miss that spicy hot pot behind school, the one with extra sesame sauce.
Another page. You bastard. I won an award today. But it was my very first acting award. Standing up there on the stage. The lights were so blinding I could barely see with a massive crowd applauding me. Yet the one person I wanted to see most wasn't there. Su-Yan, did you see the news? Are you even a little happy for me? Never mind, you probably didn't even look, you jerk.
I dreamed about you again, begging me. Bai Ningbing, don't go, please, stay here.
Waking up laughing, he ended up just crying. Su-Yan, I hate you. It's been 100 days. Still no word from you. Su-Yan, have you really abandoned me for good? Then, Su-Yan, someone confessed to me today. A really great senior at our school. But I rejected them. I told them I already have someone I love. Someone waiting for me back home. Look at how good I am at lying. I even fooled myself. It started snowing. London's first snow. I heard it is snowing back home, too. He asked, Su-Yan, do you still remember our promise to watch the first snow together? Happy New Year. Su-Yan, without you here, the new year isn't happy at all. Su-Yan, I'm so tired. I want to stop loving you, but I just can't. And then, if this is really what you want, I will give you your wish. The last entry was dated 2 years ago, the handwriting looking messy and rushed. At the very end of the page, there was a small, blurry smudge from dry tears. Flipping forward, the next pages are completely blank, until she hits the very last page. The ink is very fresh, written recently, consisting of just 2 short lines.
It read, "I tried, I lost." No date was written. No signature, just those 6 words etched so deeply into the paper. She closes the notebook and shuts her eyes, her chest feeling incredibly tight and heavy. Her chest feels heavy, like wet cotton. She is totally suffocating, realizing her cool attitude was a lie. While she walked away to start anew, he was completely alone abroad. He endured so much from the start. First, his complaints and hopes, then bitter hurt and endless self-doubt. And finally, to absolute despair, trying to let go, but failing. Every journal entry slices her heart. She thought her letting go was a noble sacrifice, but it was pure cowardice. It was a heavy shackle she locked him in, forcing him to suffer all alone in a distant country. He dealt with the pain alone. He faced nothing but freezing silence while she hid in her safe little shell. She actually felt proud of her detachment. Seriously, she was a massive jerk. A total self-righteous idiot, and she only managed to drift off into sleep right before dawn. Her dreams are chaotic, showing Bai Ningbing at the airport with red eyes, clinging to her sleeve in tears, looking completely empty, then standing in the twilight just last night, crying and saying he still loved her. She wakes up with a splitting headache. Outside, the sun is up. She sits on the bed, dazed for a long time, the journal resting nearby. It feels like a hot branding iron against her skin, forcing her to make a choice. Picking up her phone, she opens the number she has not dialed in 3 years, yet knows completely by heart. Her finger hovers over the call button, her heart pounding crazily. She finally presses call. The phone barely rings twice before he picks up so fast, it feels like he was waiting for her call. It is totally silent. Only his soft breathing. Her throat is dry. She forces out a raspy whisper, calling his name, Bai Ningbing. He hums in response, and the other side goes completely silent. Only his quiet static and barely audible breathing remain. She grips her freezing phone. All those practiced apologies die right there in her throat. Her voice cracks badly as she manages to say she saw the journal. He replies very quietly. Sorry feels so cheap, but she can only repeat it, telling him she is sorry. Only a heavy sigh. He finally speaks her name, Su-Yan, his voice quiet. It carries a strange calm. 3 years of repeating those apologies to himself, believing he just was not good enough. That was why she left, thinking he made her too tired. He blamed his clinginess, assuming she would just wait forever. His tone is flat. And honestly, this massive emotional payoff is just low-key heartbreaking to watch. She tells him to stop saying sorry because those empty apologies are just denying all the pain she went through over those 3 years, the proof that she actually lived. Even if it was bad, his throat goes completely tight. He is choked up with emotion, completely at a loss for words. On the other end, she pauses, her voice softening completely. With a slight tremble in her voice, she tells him she only has one question. He desperately tells her to ask, like a drowning man grabbing a lifeline, but the line goes silent again. It feels like she is gathering her courage, and then she asks in a very gentle whisper. Yet the words feel incredibly heavy as she asks him, Su-Yan, do you still like me? No guilt, no compensation. She wants a real answer. And not just nostalgia for the past, but actually looking at the person she is right now. She asks him if he still likes Bai Ningbing, and honestly, the tension in this moment is just unreal. The birds chirping outside and the rustling leaves seem to fade away. Even the distant barking fades into the background, leaving only the loud thumping of his own heart. But then he can still hear her weak and cautious breathing coming through the phone, making her sound so incredibly fragile. She is waiting for an answer that is 3 years late. An answer that crossed mountains and seas, weighed down by years of separation and heavy misunderstandings. Su-Yan closes his eyes, but memories start flashing back. It is not the memories of their past 20 years, but every single painful moment since their recent reunion. Moments like her cold, freezing stare when she first pushed her up in the fence gate after all this time.
Or her pale, fragile face when she fainted in his yard, and her calling him a total bastard with red eyes. The deep, hidden hurt in her eyes and the way she crouched down at the training ground. Her hands trembling with anxiety as she treated his wounds, with fine sweat building up on her nose. And last night when she kept her back straight, even as the tears streamed down her face. Risking absolutely everything just to say she would pursue him, with that unextinguished fire in her eyes. All those deep feelings he tried so hard to ignore suddenly surge forward like a massive melting spring tide.
It completely breaks through all his self-deception, and man, this payoff is just so worth the wait. He has nowhere to run anymore, having always believed that love was just the heartbeat of youth. Just a simple companionship in their youth, but in this exact moment, he finally understands. Love means that even if you are covered in scars, and even across years of separation and misunderstandings, but seeing her again still makes his heart beat completely out of control, like nothing else matters. Love is knowing the road ahead might still be incredibly rough, yet refusing to live another day without her. Without any trace of her in his life, and those simple words, dry, but incredibly clear, are finally forced out of his throat with absolute certainty. Without a single second of hesitation, making her hold her breath on the other end of the line. And then he hears her take a sharp, incredibly soft breath of absolute and total relief. With a slightly choked voice, she softly demands him to say those exact words to her again. Her tone has a little bit of stubbornness mixed with a sweet, playful pout. Just like the stubborn little girl from their childhood who would never give up until she got what she wanted. And just like that, his heart softens completely, turning into an absolute melted mess. He repeats the words, his voice growing much more steady and firm now. With a tender resolve, he didn't even notice himself. He says, "Bai Ningbing, I love you, and it's not the past. It is now, and always has been," as the quiet sound of suppressed sobbing comes from the other end. Those soft cries feel like burning magma to him, completely shattering whatever defense and armor he had left. Crying and laughing at the same time, she calls him Su-yan, saying he is a total idiot. Hearing him say he was kept waiting so long made Su-yan's throat tighten. Tears welled up, and Su-yan felt like a complete jerk. "So what are you going to do about it?" Bai Ningbing asked, crying. He sounded like a kid demanding an answer. Su-yan just stared out the window. Morning light flooded the quiet yard Su-yan had guarded for 3 years as he mentioned their talk last night. Su-yan spoke slowly, an involuntary smile tugging at the corner of his lips.
"Is it okay if I chase after you now, Bai Ningbing?" he asked.
Su-yan admitted he was no longer that arrogant fool from 3 years ago, even if he still sucked at sweet talk. Maybe he still could not even farm well, and could never truly fit into Bai Ningbing's dazzling, glitzy world. But Su-yan had a yard full of endless watermelons and an old well to chill sweet mung bean soup. He had the skills to climb trees for persimmons, even if he might still fall. Most importantly, he had a heart that was terribly late, but absolutely sure about loving him. Pausing for a moment, Su-yan felt a warm tear trace down his cheek. He asked if Bai Ningbing was willing to give this idiot a second chance to pursue him again. The crying on the other end of the line stopped, leaving only heavy silence. Those few long seconds felt like an entire century until a thick, stuffy voice finally broke the silence. Yet, Bai Ningbing's voice was incredibly clear and bright as he told Su-yan that it depended on his performance. He warned Su-yan that if he ever dared to run again, he would literally tear the entire world apart. He would drag Su-yan back, tie him to his side, and annoy him for the rest of his life. Su-yan smiled through his cascading tears, promising that he would never run away again. Even if his legs got broken, he would stay, as warm, golden sunlight flooded into the room. The rays illuminated a light blue notebook on the desk, resting right next to a rusty old tin box. Dust motes danced gently in the beams of light, like a scene right after a brutal winter. It felt like a gentle salvation had finally arrived, proving that time had not yet run out. Neither of them had grown old, and after traveling thousands of miles, they finally turned around. They were both still there! Honestly, what a beautiful ending. But wait, there is a hilarious special chapter next. So it turns out Bai Ningbing has this hilarious secret hobby of absolutely loving to see Su-yan completely panic. But get this, Su-yan did not fully figure this out until 3 months into their marriage. One day, Su-yan came home from work and immediately sensed something was totally off. The lights were off, with only a sliver of light slipping through the closed curtains. The faint glow of the sunset revealed a subtle, lingering trace of Bai Ningbing's favorite sweet cologne in the air. It was slightly stronger than usual. Su-yan set down his keys and called out for his husband. There was no response. The bedroom door was slightly ajar, so Su-yan pushed it open and froze. Bai Ningbing was sitting on the edge of their king-sized bed with his back turned. He was casually wearing one of Su-yan's baggy old shirts, loosely draped to show off his pale collarbones and neck. His hair was tied up loosely with a few stray strands framing his face. Honestly, the view was breathtaking. That is, if he was not holding a gleaming, razor-sharp tool in his hand. It was just the utility knife Su-yan used to open packages, but he was slowly carving with it. The blade was dragging across a familiar wooden box on the nightstand, where Su-yan kept his old mementos.
There was nothing valuable inside, just some old student identification cards from his high school days,
along with a few spare coins and some graduation photos from back then. He was looking at the old group pictures. "Are you back?" he asked, without turning around. His voice was light and airy, carrying an unusually lazy, almost threatening tone. Without pausing his hands, the sharp tip of the blade made a soft scraping sound against the wooden lid. Su-yan's heart skipped a beat. This exact vibe was giving major final boss energy. Why do these lines sound exactly like that trashy thriller he forced Su-yan to watch last week?
It is literally like a villain's entrance. Su-yan pulls himself together and walks over.
He asks what he is doing, trying to keep his voice completely casual.
Bai Ningbing finally turns around, his face totally expressionless.
His eyes look pretty empty, but there is this incredibly faint, creepy smile on his face. "Just looking for something," he says, holding up a yellowed old photo. Turns out it is Su-yan's high school graduation photo, where he is tucked away in the back corner. He looks so goofy in it. Asking what he is looking for, Su-yan sits right next to him. The mattress sinks slightly under his weight, and Bai Ningbing turns to stare at him. The sunset hits half his face perfectly, casting these long, dramatic shadows under his eyelashes. "Just looking around," he says, slowly tapping the photo with the tip of his knife.
He points at a blurry girl standing next to Su-yan, asking who she is.
Su-yan leans in closer to look. It is just a girl with a simple ponytail. Her face is pretty faded from age, but you can still make out her general features. Su-yan racks his brain and says she was probably the class study rep. Her last name was Zhang, but he is not sure. "Really?" Bai Ningbing draws out the word. He slowly traces the tip of his blade around the girl's silhouette on the photo. But how come he remembers her sending Su-yan a love letter? Wait, did that even happen? Honestly, back in high school, Su-yan had absolutely eyes for no one but Bai Ningbing. So who actually sent a love letter, and when did this supposedly happen? Su-yan's total confusion seems to please him, and he lets out a soft, amused laugh. Putting the photo and utility knife down, Bai Ningbing suddenly leans in incredibly close. The scent of fresh shampoo and his warm breath instantly wash over Su-yan. Calling his name, he reaches out, resting his cold fingers gently against Su-yan's cheek. His voice drops to a low whisper, carrying this forced, totally yandere gentleness, and honestly, I am so here for it. He murmurs about how tragic it is that he could not be part of Su-yan's past. Su-yan's eyelid twitches, but those cold fingers just keep sliding slowly downward. They stop right at his Adam's apple, lightly tracing it as he whispers about his present and future, saying every single second has to be his, from the hair on his head to his toes. Every heartbeat and breath must belong to him alone. He locks eyes with Su-yan, spelling out every single word slowly and clearly. If he ever finds out his heart, tapping right on Su-yan's chest, beats for someone else. He pauses for a second, then suddenly flashes this beautiful, sweet smile. Leaning right into his ear, his warm breath tickles Su-yan's neck. He says he will tie him up and lock him in a basement where he can only look at him. Thinking only of him, talking only to him, asking if that sounds good. Su-yan?
Silence. A solid 10 seconds of absolute silence from Su-Yan. He looks at that gorgeous, flawless face right in front of him. Bai Ningbing is trying so hard to look edgy and obsessed, but there is a familiar mischievous spark. That smug, playful glint and his slightly trembling eyelashes completely give him away. The act is totally busted. Su-Yan just sighs. He grabs Bai Ningbing's hand, stopping him from teasing his throat, and calls his full name. Bai Ningbing blinks, hums in response, and Su-Yan calmly says there is one thing.
First of all, the love letter was from the next class's art rep, not the study rep. You got the wrong girl, Bai Ningbing. Bai Ningbing's fake yandere face cracks instantly. That utility knife is literally brand new, and the blade is still sealed. The plastic casing is still on, so wielding just the handle looks pretty goofy. Bai Ningbing looks down at his weapon, his ears turning bright red. Honestly, this is so cute. Su-Yan pulls his hand close and gently kisses those cold fingertips. He gives him a fond look, asking if he wants to role play. There is actually no basement, he says, but the attic is ready. You can lock me up anywhere, he tells him, causing his boyfriend to completely fold. Completely flustered, Bai Ningbing slaps his hand away and tells him he is annoying. His cold, aloof facade instantly collapses into pure, adorable embarrassment. He whines that Su-Yan should have played along after he spent hours preparing. Su-Yan cannot help but laugh, pulling his flustered boyfriend into his arms. He nuzzles his hair, teasingly insisting that he was playing along. Breathing in his comforting scent, he asks if he did not look totally terrified. Bai Ningbing struggles in his embrace, complaining that he was not scared at all. He lightly punches his shoulder, accusing him of holding back a laugh. The flustered boy insists he saw it, but Su-Yan only pulls him closer. Leaning down, he kisses his blushing ear and chuckles softly. Su-Yan whispers that his lover playing the villain is just too cute. Hearing this, Bai Ningbing stiffens before completely melting in his arms. Burying his burning face in Su-Yan's neck, the cute boy grumbles. Zero threat. Su-Yan just holds him close. Outside, the last bit of sunset fades as the room is covered in shadows. Stroking his back, Su-Yan gently asks his dear teacher Bai. "What kind of crazy drama did you watch today?" he asks. Bai Ningbing shifts in his arms, his voice dropping to a tiny whisper. Apparently, he saw a trend about testing if your boyfriend fears a yandere. Su-Yan asks what he found out, and the boy falls silent. Suddenly, looking up, his eyes are shining brightly in the dim evening light. His eyes are slightly misty, filled with complete trust and tenderness. Leaning in, he gently kisses the corner of Su-Yan's lips. In a sweet voice, he calls Su-Yan a dummy for playing along anyway. Su-Yan's heart melts. He gently presses their foreheads together. He says if he wants to play, he will always play along. Laughing, he kisses him, promising to be his partner in crime. Seriously, couple goals. Vowing to do this forever, he says nothing as Bai Ningbing hugs him tighter. The room falls quiet, leaving only their soft breathing and heartbeats. Eventually, Bai Ningbing whispers Su-Yan's name, saying he never wanted to lock him up. Su-Yan smiles, but the cute boy nuzzles his chin, admitting his jealousy. He is even jealous of things Su-Yan forgot, making him laugh softly. He tells Teacher Bai to personally keep a strict eye on his entire life. Close supervision, never leaving his side. Bai Ningbing finally smiles, his eyes curving beautifully as he happily agrees. The deal is officially sealed with absolutely no backing out. Outside, the city lights up with thousands of homes, and theirs is easily the warmest. And they basically just wrapped up this goofy fake villain arc that was pure bluff.